Alex Martinez stared at the alien spacecraft hovering above NASA headquarters. The ship floated silently in the air without any visible engines or thrusters. As head engineer of NASA's Experimental Propulsion Division, Alex felt both afraid and curious. How is it staying up there without any visible thrusters? He asked his colleague Lisa Johnson. Lisa adjusted her glasses and looked up at the strange craft. More importantly, how did they travel across stars to get here? The ship was unlike anything humans had ever built. Its smooth metal surface reflected the sunlight with a faint blue glow. No seams or rivets were visible. It seemed like one solid piece of metal shaped into a disc. "Do you think they're hostile?" whispered Lisa. "If they wanted to hurt us, they could have done it already," Alex replied, though he wasn't completely sure. 3 days after the ship appeared, it finally made contact. The message came through all radio frequencies at once. "We come in peace and seek assistance." World leaders gathered quickly to respond. They agreed to meet the aliens at a neutral location, an empty field near NASA headquarters. Alex and Lisa were selected to join the welcome team because of their engineering expertise. The meeting day arrived with clear skies. Military vehicles surrounded the field, but kept their distance as ordered. A small platform had been set up for Earth's representatives. Alex felt his heart race as a section of the alien ship's hull simply disappeared, revealing an opening. 3 tall figures emerged and floated down to the ground. The aliens had 4 arms and skin that looked like polished copper. Their heads were slightly larger than human heads, with large black eyes that seemed to take in everything at once. "We are the Veldari," said the tallest one, its words somehow appearing in everyone's minds rather than being spoken aloud. "We have traveled far seeking help." The human delegation looked confused. Earth was centuries behind these visitors in technology. What help could humans possibly offer? "Our ship's propulsion system has failed," continued the alien. "We have tried to repair it ourselves but cannot. Our engineers lack the necessary perspective." The alien, who introduced himself as Ambassador Skital, explained that despite their advanced technology, a critical component had failed, and they couldn't fix it. Later that day, Alex and Lisa were allowed to board the alien ship with 5 other engineers. The inside was even more impressive than the outside. Corridors that seemed to change shape as they walked, lights with no visible source, and technology that appeared magical. In the engine room, they found something unexpected: a mess. Parts were scattered everywhere. Tools unlike anything on Earth lay abandoned on workstations. "We have tried 14 different approaches," said the Veldari engineer named Thurix. "Nothing works. The quantum displacement field keeps collapsing." Alex picked up what appeared to be a broken component. It was warm to the touch and hummed faintly. "What exactly does this part do?" he asked. The alien explained using terms Alex barely understood: dimensional folding, quantum uncertainty manipulation, space-time curvature regulation. Yet despite the advanced concepts, Alex recognized something familiar. This was an engineering problem. And solving difficult engineering problems was what humans did best. "We'll need to study this more," Lisa said, examining another component. "But I think we might be able to help." The Veldari looked at each other with what might have been surprise. "How can you help when you don't even have faster-than-light travel?" asked Thurix. Alex smiled slightly. Sometimes fresh eyes see solutions that experts miss. Humans have been fixing complicated things with limited tools since we invented the wheel. For the first time since their arrival, the aliens showed what might have been hope. The NASA cafeteria had been turned into a makeshift workshop. Joe Wilson sat at a table covered with alien tech and Earth equipment. 3 Veldari engineers watched him work, their copper skin reflecting the fluorescent lights. "Your species has not yet developed faster-than-light travel, yet you believe you can repair our quantum displacement engine?" Ambassador Skital asked, all 6 of his eyes blinking in sequence. Joe ran his hand through his gray hair. "With all respect, Ambassador, Humans have been making things work with limited resources since we figured out how to make fire. We call it engineering. Kate Daniels nodded as she studied the holographic diagrams the aliens had provided. She was the quantum physicist on the team, and despite her limited understanding of the alien math, certain patterns looked familiar. Your technology is advanced, but the principles seem similar to theories we've been developing. We might not have built something like this yet, but we understand how it should work. The aliens remained doubtful. Their civilization had been traveling between stars for over 3,000 years. How could these primitive humans help? Sam Roberts, the materials specialist, was examining a piece of the damaged engine under a microscope. "Interesting," he muttered. "This material changes properties when electric current passes through it." The Velderi chief engineer, Lizkar, moved closer. "Yes, it is a standard adaptive alloy. All advanced civilizations use it. But that means it's vulnerable to fatigue at the molecular level," Sam replied. "Anything that changes shape repeatedly will eventually break down." Lizkar made a sound like water bubbling. Joe realized it might be laughter. The alloy is self-repairing. It cannot fail. But it had failed. That was why the aliens were stuck on Earth. For the next week, the human team worked 18-hour days. They took the damaged component apart piece by piece, studied it, tested theories, and argued constantly. The Velderi watched with growing impatience. "Perhaps we should seek help elsewhere," Ambassador Skidtall suggested after seeing Joe kick a table in frustration. "Please, give us more time," said Maria Foster, the team leader. "This is actually normal for us. Human problem-solving often looks chaotic." On the 8th day, Olivia Clark noticed something while reviewing test results. "Look at these readings," she said, pointing to her computer screen. "The quantum field is stable until it reaches this specific frequency. Then it collapses." Kate studied the readings. "That's a resonance problem, like an opera singer breaking a glass with the right note." Joe snapped his fingers. "The power conduits. They're vibrating at exactly the wrong frequency when the engine reaches full power." The team gathered around the engine component. Sure enough, when they ran a test, the supposedly indestructible alien metal was developing microscopic cracks from vibration. "Impossible," whispered Uzkar, all four hands touching the damaged part. "This material has been used for millennia without failure." "Everything fails eventually," Joe said. "That's engineering 101. What amazed the Velderi most wasn't that humans had found the problem, but that they already had ideas for solutions. "We could add dampeners here and here," Maria suggested, pointing to the diagram. "Or redesign the power flow to avoid that frequency entirely," added Kate. Olivia was already building a prototype using Earth materials combined with alien tech. "I think we can make a bypass that redirects energy around the vulnerable areas." Ambassador Skidtall watched in silence. These humans worked differently than his people. They argued openly, tried solutions that sometimes failed terribly, and seemed to learn as much from their mistakes as their successes. After 3 more days, the team had a working solution, a patch made from Earth materials that not only fixed the junction but improved its efficiency by 23%. As the Velderi prepared to test the repair, Ulzkar approached Joe. "We have been solving engineering problems for thousands of years. How did you see what we could not?" Joe smiled. "Sometimes the most advanced solution isn't the best one. Humans are good at finding simple answers to complex problems." Sam Garcia crawled under the massive alien engine. The space was tight, but he could see the problem clearly now. After 2 hours of careful inspection, he finally found what the Velderi engineers had missed. "The problem isn't the quantum field generator," Sam called out as he pulled himself free from the cramped space. His blue jumpsuit was covered in a strange, shimmering liquid that had leaked from the engine. "It's this junction box. You've got metal fatigue where these power conduits connect." The Velderi engineers gathered around, their copper skin reflecting the bright lights of the engine room. Ambassador Skatal stepped forward, his translator device hanging from his neck. "Impossible," said the ambassador after consulting with his engineers. Their translator devices buzzed with rapid conversation in their own language. "Those junctions are made of ulthrium alloy, the most durable material in known space. It does not fail." Olivia Miller wiped grease from her hands with a rag. She pointed to the junction box that Sam had identified. "Maybe so, but you've got stress fractures. Look here and here." She pointed to tiny cracks that were barely visible to the naked eye. "Everything fails eventually. That's engineering 101. The Veldari chief engineer pressed a device against the junction box. The device projected a holographic image showing the internal structure of the metal. The cracks were clearly visible now, spreading like a web through the supposedly indestructible material. "How did you know to look there?" asked the chief engineer. His voice carried a tone of disbelief. "Because that's where I would look on Earth engines," Sam replied. "Junctions and connection points are always the weakest links in any system." Olivia was already thinking about how to fix it. She opened her toolbox and pulled out several items that seemed primitive compared to the alien technology around them. "We need to create a bypass for the power flow," she said, "then strengthen the junction with a composite material that can absorb the vibrations." To the surprise of the Veldari, Olivia began mixing epoxy resin with carbon fiber and small metal shavings. She worked quickly, measuring by eye, rather than using precision instruments. "That material is primitive," observed Ambassador Skatal. "Sometimes the simplest solutions work best," Olivia replied without looking up. "This composite will actually flex slightly with the vibrations instead of fighting against them. That's why your rigid alloy eventually cracked." Working together, Sam and Olivia created a patch and bypass system using a combination of Earth materials and some components from the Veldari ship. The process was messy and looked unprofessional to the aliens, but when they tested the repair, it worked perfectly. What shocked the Veldari most wasn't just that the humans had fixed their engine with such basic materials. The real surprise came when they measured the engine's performance. "This cannot be correct," said the chief engineer, checking the readings again. "The power efficiency has increased by 23%. Sam shrugged. "The original design was fighting against natural vibration patterns. Our fix works with them instead of against them. It's like riding a wave instead of trying to stop it." Ambassador Skatal studied the humans with new interest. His species had been traveling the stars for thousands of years. They had encountered hundreds of alien civilizations, many with technology far beyond Earth's. Yet none had shown this particular kind of problem-solving ability. "Your approach is unexpected," he said finally. "You did not try to create a perfect solution. You created one that works with the imperfections." "That's human engineering for you," Olivia said with a smile. "We don't expect perfection. We plan for failure and build systems that can be fixed when they break." As the Veldari prepared to leave Earth, Ambassador Skatal made an unexpected request. He asked if a small team of human engineers could join them on their journey home to teach this approach to their own engineers. The age of human engineers in space had begun. 6 months after the Veldari incident, Earth's orbit became crowded with alien ships. They weren't there to invade or study humans. They came with broken equipment and technical problems. Paul Jackson stood at the large window of the newly built International Space Repair Station. Below him, Earth looked peaceful. Above and around him, ships of different shapes and sizes waited their turn to dock. Some were small, barely larger than a bus. Others were huge, casting shadows on the station as they passed. "The Braxian cruiser needs their thermal regulation system overhauled," Paul said, looking at his tablet. "And the Meserites want their sensor array recalibrated again." His assistant, Maya Cooper, nodded as she updated the schedule. "The Meserites have been here 3 times this month. I'm beginning to think they break their equipment on purpose just to see how we fix it." Earth had become the unexpected repair shop of the galaxy. Despite their relatively primitive technology, Human engineers had developed a reputation for solving problems that stumped more advanced civilizations. In the main repair bay, Ellen Wright was explaining a fix to a curious Mesorite engineer. The alien had 4 arms and skin that changed color with its emotions. Currently, it was a deep purple, which humans had learned meant intense interest. "You see, the problem isn't your sensor array itself," Ellen said, pointing to a diagram on her tablet. "It's how the power cycles through it. You're pushing too much energy through at once, which causes these micro-burnouts. But our power system is designed to provide constant energy at that exact level," the Mesorite said, its skin rippling with blue streaks of confusion. "Exactly," Ellen replied. "That's actually the problem. Nothing in nature is that consistent. Your system doesn't allow for natural fluctuations." She showed the alien a simple modification, essentially a buffer system that could absorb extra energy or provide more when needed. "Humans approach machines differently," she explained. "You build perfect systems. We build systems that can be fixed when they break, because in our experience, everything breaks eventually." In another part of the station, Frank Diaz was teaching a class to engineers from 7 different alien species. The classroom had been specially designed to accommodate beings of different sizes, atmospheres, and physical needs. "Today we're covering what we call Murphy's Law," Frank said to his students. "It's the principle that if something can go wrong, it eventually will." The alien engineers watched with a mixture of confusion and fascination. Their technology was based on different principles: the pursuit of perfection, the elimination of all flaws. "Human engineering starts with accepting imperfection," Frank continued. "We don't try to make things that never break. We make things that can be repaired when they do break." The concept was revolutionary to many alien civilizations. They had spent thousands of years developing materials and systems that were meant to be flawless. The idea of planning for failure seemed strange to them. Yet the results were undeniable. Human fixes worked, often better than the original designs. Back in his office, Paul Jackson received a call from Earth's new Department of Extraterrestrial Relations. "We've just received requests from 15 more species," said the government official on the screen. "They all want human engineering teams." Paul looked out his window at the ships waiting in orbit. "We'll need to train more people. And fast. The president is already working on it. New engineering programs are being created at universities worldwide. This is the biggest job program in human history." Paul nodded. Who would have thought that humanity's greatest contribution to the galaxy would be their ability to fix things? Not their art, philosophy, or even their unique biology, but their approach to engineering. "Humans," the Braxian captain had told him yesterday, "are the best mechanics in the galaxy. And we need more of you out there." The message from the Galactic Council arrived without warning. It appeared simultaneously on every communication device in Earth's space stations and engineering centers. "Attention humans, your species has been invited to participate in the Grand Engineering Challenge. Each spacefaring civilization will send their best team to demonstrate their engineering prowess. The winner will be recognized as the superior engineers of the galaxy." Chris Bennett read the message twice as he sat in his office at the Global Engineering Academy. Out the window, he could see a Zorn ship being repaired in the distance, its crystalline structure glittering in the sunlight. "They expect us to fail," Chris said to his colleague, Susan Green. "They think our successes so far have been flukes." Susan nodded. "The established species don't like how quickly we've become important. This challenge is probably designed to put us in our place." Despite the skepticism, Earth's leaders saw this as an opportunity. After much debate, they selected 5 engineers with different specialties. Chris as team leader with expertise in mechanical systems, Susan with her background in electrical engineering, Maya Torres, who specialized in materials science, Rick Peterson with his genius for software, and Dan Howard, who was known for thinking outside the box. 2 weeks later, the human team boarded a transport ship provided by the Galactic Council. None of them had traveled beyond Mars before. Now they were heading to the massive space station Harmony, located at the center of galactic civilization. "Have you seen the list of other participants?" Maya asked as they watched Earth shrink to a blue dot behind them. Rick nodded, his face serious. 17 species. Most have been spacefaring for thousands of years. The Arthesians had been traveling between stars for over 10,000 years. The Zorn had built artificial planets. The Quarians could manipulate gravity itself. Against such advanced civilizations, what chance did humans have? When they arrived at Harmony Station, the humans were clearly the underdogs. The station was enormous, a spinning wheel in space with sections for each participating species. Some sections glowed with strange energies, while others appeared to be made of living material that moved and shifted. As they were shown to their quarters, they passed other engineering teams. The Arthesian team had brought robots that could reconfigure themselves at the molecular level. The Zorn wheeled in quantum computers that could simulate entire star systems. The humans brought toolboxes, simple, metal boxes filled with wrenches, screwdrivers, multimeters, and other basic tools. Some of the alien engineers actually laughed when they saw this. "Is this a joke?" asked the Quarian team leader, a being made of what looked like liquid metal. "You bring primitive hand tools to the greatest engineering challenge in the galaxy." Chris simply smiled. "These have served us well so far." The first challenge began the next day. Each team was given a damaged power regulator from an ancient ship. They had to repair it with no instructions or diagrams. The alien teams approached the problem with advanced technology. The Arthesians scanned the device at the atomic level. The Zorn created virtual models to test solutions. The Quarians surrounded it with gravity fields to examine internal stresses. The humans did something different. They took it apart. Piece by piece, they disassembled the regulator, examined each component, tested connections, and looked for signs of wear. "Found it," Dan said after 2 hours. "There's a hairline crack in this conductor. It's disrupting the power flow." Their repair was simple, a patch made from materials in their toolbox. When tested, the regulator worked perfectly. The humans finished third in that challenge, beating 14 other species. As they moved to the next test, Chris noticed something important. The other teams were watching them closely now, studying their methods. The humans were no longer being laughed at. "They're beginning to understand," Susan whispered. "Sometimes the simplest approach is the best." After 3 weeks of competition, the field had narrowed to 3 teams: the Arthesians, the Zorn, and, surprisingly, the humans. The other species had been eliminated one by one as the challenges grew more complex. The Harmony Station was buzzing with excitement. Many alien spectators had arrived to watch the final challenge. Some had bet heavily against the humans at the start. Those bets now seemed unwise. "The final challenge is about to be announced," Rick said as the team gathered in their quarters. Their room was simple compared to the luxurious spaces of the other finalists. The humans had spent more time in the workshop than resting. The announcement came over the station's communication system. "All finalist teams report to Docking Bay 7. The final challenge awaits." When they arrived, they saw something unexpected. An ancient alien vessel had been towed into the station. It was unlike any ship the humans had ever seen, with curves and angles that seemed to defy normal geometry. Its surface was covered in symbols no one recognized. The council representative, a tall being with glowing skin, addressed the finalists. "This vessel drifted into council space 3 months ago. It belongs to a species long extinct. No one has been able to activate it or understand its propulsion system. Your final challenge: make it operational." Nicole Russell, the human team's materials specialist, studied the vessel from a distance. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "Look at how the hull plates overlap, like fish scales." The teams were given access to the ship simultaneously, each assigned to different entry points. The Arthesians immediately deployed their molecular robots, which swarmed over the hull like silver insects. The Zorn set up their quantum computers to analyze the ship's systems. The humans entered cautiously, with flashlights and basic scanning tools. "Let's not assume anything," Mikkel said as they explored the dark corridors. "We don't need to understand everything about how it works to fix it." Inside, they found a control room with dead panels and strange seats designed for beings with different body shapes than humans. Everything was coated in a fine dust. "No power at all," Susan said, checking a panel with her multimeter. "Let's trace the power systems first." While the alien teams attempted sophisticated solutions, the humans used simple tests, checking for power flow, looking for physical damage, and testing components in isolation. They mapped the ship's systems on paper, creating a diagram of how everything connected. 6 hours into the challenge, they heard a loud boom from another part of the ship. The Arthesian robots had triggered some kind of defense system and were destroyed. Shortly after, the Zorn reported that their computers couldn't interface with the ship's bizarre operating system. The humans kept working methodically. Eric Barnes spent hours crawling through narrow maintenance tunnels, following what appeared to be power conduits. "Found it," Eric shouted after nearly 8 hours of searching. He was deep in the ship's engine room, covered in dust and sweat. "There's a hairline fracture in this crystal matrix. It's disrupting the entire power distribution system." The team gathered around. The crystal was enormous, nearly the size of a car, and glowed faintly even without power. "How do we fix something like this?" Susan asked. "We don't have replacement parts." "We don't need to replace it," Dan said thoughtfully. "We just need to bridge the gap so power can flow through." Their solution was incredibly simple compared to what the alien teams had attempted. They created a conductive paste using materials from their toolbox, mixed with a small amount of conductive fluid they found on the ship. They carefully applied this to the fracture, essentially creating a bridge across the damaged area. For the final connection, they'd modified one of their own communication devices to match the ship's power frequency. The repair was inelegant by alien standards, involving what amounted to space-grade duct tape and a modified cell phone. But when they activated the system, the ancient ship hummed to life. Lights flickered on throughout the vessel, and the control panels began to glow. The Galactic Council was stunned. The primitive humans had succeeded where the most advanced civilizations had failed. 1 year after the competition, Earth had become central to galactic affairs. The planet that once seemed isolated in the vastness of space was now a hub of activity. Ships from hundreds of worlds arrived daily, not just for repairs, but for learning. "We've been invited to establish engineering academies on 12 worlds," said Maria Foster during a meeting at the new Galactic Relations Center in Geneva. As Earth's representative to the Galactic Council, she had just returned from a 3-month tour of alien worlds. The room where they met had been specially designed to accommodate visitors from different planets. Some seats were filled with water for aquatic species. Others had different gravity settings or atmospheric bubbles. 12 worlds? Asked Ryan Adams, the head of Earth's engineering course. "We don't have enough teachers for that many schools." "The demand keeps growing," Maria replied. "Every major civilization wants to learn how humans approach engineering problems." The secret to human engineering success hadn't been superior knowledge or technology. It was a combination of factors unique to their development. The need to improvise with limited resources, the ability to think laterally when direct approaches failed, and, perhaps most importantly, the expectation that systems would fail and need repair. On the viewing screen, they could see the latest project: human engineers helping the Zorn rebuild their home planet's atmosphere regulation system. The Zorn had built a perfect system, but it couldn't adapt to unexpected changes in solar radiation. Humans were helping them add flexibility and redundancy. The Arthesians have requested 500 human engineers for their deep space exploration fleet, said Carlos Mendez, reading from his tablet. They're offering to share their faster-than-light technology in exchange. Until recently, humans couldn't travel beyond their own solar system. Now they were essential crew members on ships exploring the farthest reaches of the galaxy. Ryan walked to the window and looked out at the busy spaceport. Ships of all shapes and sizes waited for human engineering teams. Some were so large they remained in orbit, sending down smaller vessels to collect their human passengers. "We never expected this," he said quietly. "When we first met the Veldari, we thought we were the least advanced species in the galaxy." "Technologically, we still are," Maria replied. "But technology isn't everything. Our way of thinking is what they value." Across the galaxy, ships now carried human engineering teams. Major space stations had human repair shops. The new galactic standard for equipment design included what was now called human-style access, meaning systems were built to be repaired, not just replaced when they failed. In a classroom on the Arthesian homeworld, Ryan taught a group of alien engineers. Their world had been spacefaring when humans were still living in caves, yet they listened to him with complete attention. "The universe is chaotic," Ryan explained. "Perfect systems fail when faced with imperfect conditions. Human engineering doesn't try to achieve perfection. It aims for resilience. We don't just build things. We build things that can be fixed when they break." The concept was revolutionary to species that had spent thousands of years pursuing technological perfection. Humans embraced the idea that everything would eventually break and planned accordingly. In engineering centers throughout the galaxy, a new phrase had become common when teams faced difficult problems. "Let's think like humans." It meant stepping back from complex solutions and looking for simple fixes. It meant planning for failure instead of assuming success. The Galactic Council had created a new position, Chief Engineer of the Council, and insisted a human fill the role. The first to hold this position was Lisa Johnson, one of the engineers who had first examined the Veldari ship on Earth. "We found our place in the galaxy," Maria said as she watched a human team prepare to board a massive Quarian exploration vessel, not as conquerors or even innovators, but as the mechanics who keep the whole thing running. Ryan nodded. "And that might be the most important job of all." In a galaxy full of wonders and advanced technology, humanity's greatest contribution had turned out to be their unique approach to solving problems. They were the engineers who could fix anything, the best engineers in the galaxy.